Let me start off with a question. When was the last time you witnessed so much hype around a new car? Well, do you remember seeing so many spy stories or reading about the car before its launch? Well, I can't remember either, but that's exactly the case with the Mahindra XUV700. It's been a long time coming for this premium SUV, and while we have seen it before a lot of times in camouflage, this is the first time we are seeing it properly out in the open in all its glory. But before we go ahead, please do consider subscribing to our channel if you like what you see, and also don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Speaking of updates, the XUV700's design is not simply an update over the XUV500 but an entirely new look, elements of which we'll probably see in future Mahindra SUVs. Things like this new logo that will be used specifically for the SUV range. Mahindra has revealed that this new visual identity will make its way to the rest of the SUVs in a phased manner. As for the actual design, yes, there are certain elements that will remind you of the XUV500. Take these LED headlights for instance, and the way they taper down towards the center of the number plate, and these vertical slats on the chrome grille. However, there is a lot of new stuff like the smartly designed bumper, the new logo and the LED headlamps, giving the XUV700 its own identity. Move to the side and you will come across some familiar details, it's just that they have all been refined and brought up to date for the XUV700. The overall profile may look similar to the 500, but there have been plenty of changes that make the design coherent. First of all, you have these pop-up door handles which fit flush when locked, giving the doors a really clean look. Then there are these wheel arches which are nowhere as pronounced as the ones on the 500. I also like that the signature Kink on the rear door has been toned down for this car, and I think it looks better this way. The less prominent wheel haunches on the 700 lead us to these massive wraparound taillights which taper towards the center. Interestingly enough, this entire lift gate is all plastic for that edgy look, and if you ask me, it dominates the entire rear section of the car. The number plate housing is still mounted on the lift gate, while the rear bumper features a thick contrasting silver bash plate to give it some character. Now Mahindra has made it clear that the brand will be focusing on putting technology first into their products from now on, and it clearly shows as you step inside the XUV700. The top spec AX7 variant that we have here has everything one would expect in terms of features and connectivity tech. You get a 10.25-inch infotainment screen and next to it another 10.25-inch screen for the instrument console, wireless phone mirroring, dual zone climate control, LED headlights, sequential turn indicators, leather everywhere, electrically adjustable driver's seat and a panoramic sunroof. The XUV700 also gets many segment first features such as pop-out door handles, 7 airbags including one for the driver's knees, inbuilt Alexa voice commands and a surround sound system from Sony. The highlight though is the fact that Mahindra has introduced ADAS systems at this price point. Yes, the XUV700 gets advanced driver-focused safety systems such as forward collision warning, autonomous emergency braking, lane departure warning, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, traffic sign recognition and high beam assist. There is some stuff missing on this car though. For example, the steering column is adjustable for rake only and it's also missing ventilated seats and front parking sensors. Then there's the lack of paddle shifters, which is something we feel should have been here given the performance on offer. This being a technology focused cabin, of course you get a full suite of connectivity tech. Here Mahindra is using what it calls AdrenoX, which uses AI to make life behind the wheel that little bit easier, especially when you have so many features that you can control. Basically, the system works around Alexa's functionality, the dual digital screens and the Sony sound system to control pretty much all the entertainment features and the car's functions. Now some might argue that this car looks a little too familiar from the outside, and we agree, there are certain elements that make it look like the XUV500. That's not the case with the interior though. It's a giant leap forward from the XUV500. Like, everything you touch and feel is so good, and the way everything is laid out is so stylish and contemporary, you wouldn't believe that it's come out of a Mahindra. It's a genuinely nice place to spend time in. I'll let the B-roll do the talking while I test out the second and third row of seats for space and comfort. Okay, now that I've spent some time in the second row, I actually have mixed opinions. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of knee room and headroom, And because this cabin is all white and you have this massive sunroof above you, the cabin ambience is actually superb. It's just that I'm lacking a little under-thigh support because the seat base is not as long as I would have liked. Of course, I can make things better for myself by stretching out under the front seat, but that's not the ideal thing to do because not everyone would be comfortable doing that. Things aren't any better in the third row. First of all, the process of getting into these seats isn't exactly effortless. And once you are seated in here, you will realize that the third row accommodation is best reserved for a quick trip to your local restaurant or a hangout spot. You can see that it's extremely tight and there is hardly any seat comfort on offer, and so just like the Alcazar, the XUV700 barely makes it as a 5+2. In fact, in this segment, it's the Safari that has the most usable third row, so that's something to consider if you're looking for a 7-seater SUV. We had high hopes from this cabin for quality and finish also, and I'm happy to report that for the most part, the XUV700 delivers on both. Fit and finish is there, and I like how well the buffed chrome elements go well with the gloss black materials. I also like how there are softly padded materials everywhere you touch. So it all comes together really for the XUV, and the build quality here is worth appreciating. We just wish there was more under-thigh support and a little more room in the third row. That would have made this cabin so much more usable. Buyers will be able to choose between petrol and diesel engine options with either a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic. The 2-liter petrol is quite strong, making 200 bhp of power and 380 Nm of torque. The 2.2-liter diesel engine meanwhile will be available in two tunes, 185 bhp version with 420 Nm for the manual and 450 Nm for the automatic, and also 155 bhp version with 360 Nm for the entry-level versions. What we have here is the top-of-the-line diesel automatic version with 185 bhp tune, and first impressions are really good. This engine has a nice and quiet idle and vibrations are little to none. It's only when you are accelerating that you would hear it more than you would like. Even so, it's not that annoying diesel clatter, and actually the engine is quite refined. Overall NVH levels are among the best in class, if not the best. The other good thing about this engine is that it delivers punchy performance right from the word go. You get nearly 450 Nm of pulling power from as low as 1750 revs, and this peak torque stays flat till 2800 rpm, which is the ideal operation range under normal driving conditions. The XUV700 then has more than enough grunt, and it shows when you push it. Performance is strong all the way till 4000 rpm, and the XUV will keep pulling hard well past triple-digit speeds. When it comes to straight line performance and throttle response, there is no comparison really. The XUV puts the Alcazar to shame, and it's easily the most quickest car in its segment. What complements this strong engine so well is the 6-speed automatic gearbox. Sure, it's no dual clutch unit and the gear shifts aren't lightning fast, but for driving around town and covering long distances on the highways, it does the job. It goes up and down the gears smoothly, doesn't hesitate in bumper-to-bumper traffic as you go on and off throttle. Overall, it's a great comfort-oriented gearbox that does its job beautifully. Coming to the ride and handling, the XUV700 has a neat trick up its sleeve. The front suspension is a typical McPherson strut, but with it, you get special dampers from Koni which can adjust the frequency of damping force as per the load and road conditions. The rear suspension meanwhile is a multi-link system that also gets the same dampers. The end result is ride quality that's most impressive at speed. The XUV700's high-speed manners in fact are quite solid with good stability and body control. You sit planted over long undulated corners and it doesn't feel twitchy at all. The steering, although a touch too light at low speeds, weighs up nicely as you up the pace and inspires confidence to carry on cruising at highway speeds. If there's something we don't like here, it's the low speed ride. Although not uncomfortable by any means, it's just that it doesn't have the same level of cushiness as something like the Safari as it goes about its business of absorbing bumps and other road imperfections. You tend to hear the suspension working more often than not, and that affects the overall comfort levels. In terms of variants and pricing, the XUV700 will have 4 variants, and these will be called MX, AX3, AX5 and AX7. Naturally, the MX is your starting point, and you'll have to settle for a detuned version of the diesel engine with 153 bhp of power and 360 Nm of torque. Then there will be option packs for some of the higher variants that will include all the highlighting features that you see on this car. As for configurations, you will get to choose between manual and automatic with 5 and 7 seater options, and lastly, there will also be all-wheel drive version, so if you think about it, there is an XUV700 for every kind of buyer. And this extensive range of versions is only going to help increase this SUV's appeal among the masses. Now, we weren't really expecting a price reveal at this point, but Mahindra threw a pleasant surprise by announcing prices for 4 variants at the time of the unveiling. The base MX 5-seater petrol manual will cost you 11.99 lakhs, whereas the equivalent diesel will set you back at least Rs 12.49 lakhs. Moving up the range, the AX3 petrol manual is priced at Rs 13.99 lakhs and the AX5 comes in at Rs 14.99 lakhs. This frankly makes the XUV700 great value. However, we'll have to see if such competitive prices reflects on the higher spec versions, especially the range-topping AX7 series with the options pack. Speaking of which, the options pack will be announced at a later date and will include features like the Sony sound system, the pop-out door handles, 360-degree surround view, blind spot monitoring, electronic parking brake, and wireless charging. So there you go, that's the all-new Mahindra XUV700 finally out in the open and tested. And as you may have figured by now, it's mighty impressive on so many counts. So it's got the right amount of power, features, road presence, and finally an interior that can rival the best in the segment. Mahindra has really gone to town with the XUV700 and it shows. And we haven't got to the best bit yet, and that's the powertrain. The 2.2-litre diesel engine and the 6-speed auto is a lovely combination that can give you the thrills when you're in the mood and be frugal the rest of the time. But coming to the most important question, does the XUV have enough to make a name for itself in a segment which has heavy hitters like the Safari and the Alcazar? Going by what we have seen and experienced so far, the XUV700 is looking extremely promising, and it will be interesting to see how it fares against both in a proper comparison test. We will have a much clearer picture once Mahindra announces prices for the rest of the variants, but again, looking at the prices of the 5-seater manual variant so far, the XUV700 is likely to be the value champ at the premium end of the market as well. That's it from us for this video. Please do consider subscribing if you would like to view more such reviews, and let us know in the comments which car you would like us to review next.